Okay, guys, welcome back once again to Big Farming Academy. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about how to reduce the cost of feeding your animals. So I'm going to break it down into sections as to how I manage to reduce the cost of feeding my pigs. Okay, so please pay attention as I break this down into sections for you guys. So we all can agree that feeding is quite expensive, right? So for you to be able to make profit in the pig farming business, you need to understand that you manipulating or you understanding the feeding aspect will enable you to reduce this cost. To enable you to reduce this cost in so many ways that one. I'll break it down. So I'm just trying to fix my mic. I hope you guys can hear me. If you can hear me, please drop your favorite emoji, okay? This class is going to be more of an interactive one. If you can hear me, if you can hear me, okay, please. I'm using the laptop, that's why I'm trying to. Please drop your emoji. Please drop your favorite emoji, okay? Please drop your favorite emoji. Right emoji. Okay. So guys, if you can hear me, drop your favorite emoji, okay? So the feeding factor, when understood perfectly well, will enable you the pig farmer to be able to maximize your profit. If after your record you discover that the feed that you give to your pigs exceeds the expected return, that means you are going into loss. So I'm going to share with you ways that I managed to reduce the cost of feeding these animals. Like I always say, there are factors to consider when it comes to pig feed formulation. The first one is the budget. You need to tell yourself, this feed, yes, I know it's nutritious, but it is it budget friendly? And the second one is, can I get it over and over again? For instance, now you can't use because someone is using breweries waste and all those things to be like, okay, I'm going to make use of it. You need to consider your location. Can I get this particular meal, this particular feed in this location consistently? Can I get it in good quantity to enable me to keep on giving to these animals? Because you're not just trying to formulate a feed, you are trying to formulate a feed that will be long lasting, something you can get all the time over and over again. So these are factors that you need to consider when it comes to pig feed formulation. For me in Nigeria, I make use of PKC, Bambara Nut Chaff, also called Otsuoba. And I make use of soybeans, blood meal, corn, cassava. All these things are what I mix together to formulate the pig feed construction. But then for you to be able to make your profit, you need to understand that pig feed comes with different proportions. It's not the same proportion of nutrient that you give to the lactating mothers, the pregnant sows, the piglets, the winners, the growers that you give to the the males, the mature males. No. There's something we call the maintenance ration. There's something we call the production ration. This production ration will give it to those animals that are expected to to produce, grow, they are used for production. Something like something you give to the winners, something you give to the piglets, something you give to the lactating mothers, all those ones are production ration because they need that much more nutrients, especially in the factor of protein. For instance, piglets, winners, growers need more protein compared to a mature boar, which should be placed more on a maintenance ration. Yes, the meat should equally be proteinous, but it shouldn't contain as much protein as that of these other classes I mentioned, like the lactating sows, the piglets, mention them. So when you understand this principle in the feeding respect, you get to understand that you'll be able to scale your profit because you won't just mix them together and serve to the animals. You need to understand that, oh, this is a piglet, this is a sow. I'm going to give it more protein. I'm going to reduce the amount of protein I'm giving to this boar and all those things. But then again, for you to formulate your feed effectively, you need to understand that you need to employ certain strategies. I'm going to share with you one of the strategies that I employed to reduce this cost. You as a pig farmer, you need to understand that you need to plant some of the things that you use in formulating this feed. You don't need to buy everything that is a component in this your feed formulation. You need to try to, even if it's to plant your cassava, plant your maize, plant your plantains, plants anything you can grow. Okay, you can try to even have a vegetable farm where you grow pumpkin, water leaf, spinach. Mention them. So, guys, before I go into more details, I'm going to like to inform you that I published a book titled The Pig Farmer's Journey that contains how I managed to set up the pig farming business and the challenges I faced and the strategies I employed to overcome these challenges. So, guys, I'm dropping the link. I'm dropping the link of this book via this video's description box. So make sure you get a copy. I will probably call my WhatsApp number in case you want to message me through WhatsApp and get a copy. 080-588-11642. So another strategy I employ to reduce this cost, aside from planting all these crops that will help me to reduce the cost, I employ the principles of making use of what I get from these animals. For instance, when I get the droppings from my pigs, I don't just discard them to grow crops. I instead keep them in a place that will enable them to to grow maggots. And when this maggots comes out, I will now process it in a very good manner that I will now make use of it as a source of protein in their meals. The maggots, when processed well, you need to wash it with salt and water, dry it, heat it up, and then give it to your pigs. It's a very good source of protein for them. Then another thing that will help you not to waste your feed when it comes to your pigs is to make sure that you keep to your drug routine. Because keeping to your drug routine will enable these animals not to, fall sick. And when they don't fall sick, they will easily convert the feed you give to them to meat. That's the sole aim of pig farming. Pigs are good converters of feed to meat. Yes, when you get nice breed. But then again, if you don't understand that you trying your best to remove pathogens or prevent diseases from your farm is also a means of you not wasting your feed. You don't become a profitable farmer. So from today, begin to understand that you will start taking certain things seriously. Things like the preventive dose when it comes to the drug routine. Giving your pigs necessary required drugs is a very good necessity. It's one of the ways of improving your feed conversion. Because when they maintain a good health, they will obviously get to be healthy and thereby convert this feed you give to them to meat in a very good proportion. So you, my amazing viewer, I'm going to advise you so much to make sure that you feed these animals, that you give these animals their necessary drugs. Also, as much as you are giving them these drugs, make sure you maintain good hygiene. I've gone to so many farms where, yes, they give food to the animals, but the trunk, the the drinking cans, everything is dirty. When when you keep where you give these animals their feed dirty, you're definitely fighting your own success because the feed is going to come with pathogens. And when this feed comes with pathogens, it will lead to one or two diseases that will in the same way start fighting these pigs as they are eating. It can be a worm, it can be whatever. You can pick up dirt from the floor and all those things. So try to want to stick to your drug routine while equally giving these animals food. This is one of the ways by which you effectively make use of the food that you give to your animals. So I've been able to share with you how to get the protein sources right. That is through the maggot phase. I make use of when it comes to the protein sources. I make use of the soybeans, right? The bambara nuts, also called the tuoba. Then I make use of blood meal. I make use of what's that? The maggots. So these are the four major sources I make use of when it comes to the protein. Then when it comes to the carbohydrates, that's the energy giving food, I make use of one, the cassava and the maize. These two major things. Then when it now comes to PKC, I make use of PKC, also called palm kernel cake. That palm kernel cake is one of the things I find in large quantity. Like I told you guys previously, that one of the factors you need to consider before going into food formulation is if you can get this particular thing in a very quantity. Once you tell yourself, yes, I can get this in a very large quantity, that means that you can go out, you can at least consider with that one, then now check budget. PKC is one of the things that I can find in Nigeria in a very good quantity. So if you're coming from China or Japan or Malaysia, you should what one of the things you need to consider is when you go to your local market, ask yourself what are the things that I can get consistently, and also at the same time they will call it budget friendly. Once you get something that will answer this question, then you now have a feed to start formulating. That's one of the components, that's one of the factors to relate to once you want to go into big food formulation. So guys, I'm sharing these details with you because I want you to, to get to achieve a certain result, better results in your farm. But in case you want to, have a one-on-one discussion with me, like I did previously, I've dropped my WhatsApp number. If you had this video, please call it again so you can message me via WhatsApp for us to talk and then get to formulate a fit for you based on your location. Because what I'm saying right now it's more like a general study, and based on Nigeria, you that is coming from China, you can have other things that you can find at a much cheaper rate than what I can get here in Nigeria. So if you're in China, Asia, America, you should consider your location. Go to your market, check things that you can find in a more larger quantity consistently over and over again. Because you won't give your piece feed their feed today and then not give them tomorrow. You have to feed them consistently, right? So you checking for something you can find consistently, then equally knowing the classes of meals that they require, like the energy source, the protein source, the fat and oil source, the vitamins, and then I'm going to emphasize on one other aspect, which is the water sources. You need to make sure you give them clean water. I want this live session to be an interactive one. I don't want it to be a lecture. Though I've been dropping lectures and all those things, I want it to be an interactive one. So please drop your comments in any aspect of the pay farming business that you find difficult. I'm going to give you a response, okay? Drop your comments, I'll give you a response. This is P Farming Academy. Like I said previously, one of my videos, that I've come to realize that most based on my experience in the pig farming world, I've come to realize that most of the problems that the pig farming journey business faces cannot be solved alone by educating you guys on the feeding aspect, drug aspect, breeding respect, all those things. That we need to do something more. Then it occurred to me that we need to combine education, we need to combine technology with this education aspect. Why did I say so? I always emphasize on you understanding your breeding records, your feeding records, your drug records, vaccination records. So if we can be able to get a technology or a software that will enable us to get a reminder, a well-detailed systematic reminder that will table and record all the activities, which includes the vaccination programs of each of the animals in our farm. This will enable us to plan our day easily. That is why I decided to go on the journey to learn software development. I'm giving you guys as a bonus to this video. I'm on the journey to understand software development. Then in the process, build an app called Farm Track, which will enable you to get to manage your farm effectively. Let's say for instance you have 1,000 pigs. Let's say for instance you have 1,000 pigs. It will be much more difficult for you to manage them effectively. But with farm track, you'll be able to tag those animals, each and every one of them. And each and every one of them will have a role, a column, and a system for each of the activities that they should undertake. That is the concept, thereby enabling you to manage these animals effectively. You get reminders of each of the activities as they grow from the piglet stage to a more advanced stage, to give you a reminder of the certain drugs that you should give to them at that particular phase of their life. So when I'm done with this, I'm going to be dropping the updates of this journey as I'm starting from the HTML. I'm almost done with the HTML and the CSS codings. I'm now into the building of the web page, after which I will progress into a more advanced level. So guys, if you're coming from China, I don't know if you can send a message via WhatsApp 080 588 11642. Send me a message via WhatsApp based on the impression you have in any respect. Then we can get stuff better, okay? Thank you very much.